Hey y'all, welcome to Anointed Love. My name is Wayne.
Hey y'all, it's Brittany.
And we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Everything that makes love truly anointed. So, wherever you are, whatever you're listening on, go ahead and drop a like, a follow, and a subscribe, depending and share, whatever you're listening on. Obviously, we are in our living room right now recording another episode of Anointed Love.
Yes.
And this is episode 3. Yes, 3. If you haven't already, you can watch the last 2 episodes. It kind of tells my story in the first episode, Britt's story in the second episode, and today we're gonna talk.
Yes.
About things.
About things.
Yes.
Yes. Things we will talk.
Things we will talk. Talk things we will. Anyways, so I do want to say that if you have any questions for us, biblical, personal, or whatever, feel free to post and ask whatever they may be. We'd love to answer them on the next episode. I will say that we tried to record an episode not long ago, and we kind of had some questions and we talked about them, and it didn't work out sound-wise, so we are trying something new. So let us know if it's better, worse, if you love it, hate it, whatever. Just interact with us. Let us know what you think. So I remember one of the questions was, how do we keep God in the middle of disagreements or conflict?
I think it's important to take a holy pause and truly evaluate what the argument is about. Is it something that's worth is it something worth risking this relationship, or is it something worth risking this relationship? And 9 times out of 10, if you ask yourself that, you'll come up with the answer that I get. And a lot of times it's not worth the risk. We're human, we get in our flesh, we're not perfect, we make mistakes. I am a person who was raised old school, so I tend to be set in my ways at times. I am very opinionated, and I can come off very condescending at times, if I'm being completely honest. And we all know that that's not of God and it's not holy. And so the Lord's really been working on me with that, and I feel like I have been healing from that, but it's because I keep Him in the middle of this relationship. Because if He's not in the center of this relationship, then this will never work. It will never flourish. It will never be what God intended it to be. We will never go deeper in our anointing or our calling if we don't keep Him in the middle of everything.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So another question that...
You answer that question too.
Okay, I'll answer that question. So to be honest with you, and real and raw, because that's what this podcast is about, when I have a disagreement with her, God is not the first thing on my mind. I don't immediately say, well, let's pray about it, or let's whatever. But eventually I get there to a point where I just have to stop everything, and we need to pray. Like, even if I say it with an attitude, we need to pray. Like, I'm tired of this. This ain't working, so let's do something different. Now, I will say that it is better now than it was in the past. When we have disagreements or arguments about whatever it is we're disagreeing or arguing about, I do tend to take more of a step back. Now, whether or not I keep God in the middle of that depends on the situation, which is not holy. but we're working towards it. We're gonna get there. Marriage ain't perfect, and neither is ours.
Right.
We're two imperfect people who love a perfect God, and that's what you get, and what you got.
Yeah, and you have to think too that me and Wayne has not been married that long, but we've already felt the enemy's attack in our marriage because his desire is to destroy this.
Yep.
Because he knows that if this is centered in God, then we're going to go places where he can't go. And so he's already trying to attack. And so we're learning how to keep it holy and how to speak to each other. But I would say that as a newly couple, Wayne is my third marriage. You knew that in the last podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is his second marriage. But I think that our previous marriages has taught us what to, what's my word?
What not to do.
It has taught us what not to do, but it's also taught us what to appreciate in each other.
Heard.
And how the Lord has really showed us recently, probably just last night, that we're allowed to be vulnerable with each other. We're allowed to say, hey, this is what you said, and this is what triggered me, and this is how it made me feel. Now, our feelings aren't always right, but we do have feelings, and they are real, but they're not always right. So let me say that again. Your feelings are real, but they're not always right. And what I mean by that is I can say, you know what, Wayne, you told me that the house was a mess and that you needed help. And I could say, that triggered me because in my past I have been criticized about what I have done with my house chores, or how I've cleaned things, and I have been criticized by that. And then he gets to turn and look at me and say, that's not my heart. That wasn't my intention to make you feel that way. And I'm sorry that it made you feel that way, but we got to figure this out.
And I heard a pastor one time say, in the book of Job, in the very beginning, the devil went to the Lord and asked about Job and said, if you take this and this and this from him, he'll curse your name. And it's funny that the devil had to go and ask permission to mess with Job or to do whatever he did to Job, because the Lord said, do whatever you want to him, just don't take his life. The devil does not touch what he owns. He doesn't have to. The devil doesn't attack those that he owns. The devil attacks those that are not his, that he wants to be his. The devil will go after you harder because you are not his. The devil will go after you harder because you're walking in your calling. The enemy will attack more because you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that speaks volumes to marriages that should be a thing. Does that make sense? Like marriages that the husband and wife should be together, like God really intended you to be together. Those are the ones that he'll attack the most.
Yes.
And it'll be in stupid little ways, like the tone of her voice, or he don't help with the house, or
because she looked at you a certain
that
way.
part, or the tone that he took with you, whatever it is. Like, I believe that is stupid things that add up in your mind.
And when the enemy finds out the smallest things that irritate you the most, that's what he'll use the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that saying, if you give him an inch, he'll take it a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be careful of, okay, was this Wayne or was this an attack from the enemy? Now, that's not me saying that the enemy is in him and that he's allowing the enemy to use him. That is saying, okay, the enemy has put in my mind that this is what he's saying and that this is how he feels. When in reality, the enemy is just taking the little bit of words that he knows that gets to me, and he just likes to twist it And so that's why you have to be very careful. You have to be vulnerable and say, this is why I got upset. This is what you said. I think that communication is a very big thing in marriage, and it's important that you talk to each other. It's important that you communicate. It's important that you tell each other your thoughts. We just learned that in marriage class last night. Y'all should go check that out as well. Go to our Facebook page, our church. Well, I don't think it's on there anymore.
It's not live anymore.
No, but hey, if you need a marriage class that's not all about having it together, and it's not a counseling session. It's
not for broken
a bunch
marriages.
of marriages that get together who love the Lord and want to better their marriage.
And better each other's marriages. Because there's a lot that I've learned in that class that I learned from marriages that have been together for 15, 20, 30, and 40 years that have given us advice on how to raise our kids, save our money, treat each other, talk to each other. It's awesome. It's every third Friday, 6:30 at Abundant Life in Cairo, Georgia. Just throwing that out there.
Yes. But last night we were learning about how it's important that we share our thoughts with each other, because I've always told Wayne this, that because Wayne, when we first got together, he didn't like to tell me when he was upset. He would bottle it in, and then when we would have an argument, then he would bring something up that I had done like 4 weeks ago. And I'm not a processor like that. I don't like that, because I'm a very, I need you to tell me how you're feeling. I need you to tell me, I desire for you to tell me what's bothering you. Because if you don't tell me what's bothering you, number one, you're not healing from it. Number two, I'm not healing from it. And then I'm going to just keep doing the same thing because I don't know that it's hurting you.
So, not to interrupt you, but just to throw this out there from the man's point of view, the reason why I bottled up everything and I didn't tell her, hey, what you said or what you did hurt me, what you are doing is hurting me, is because I did not in turn want to hurt her. Because I knew her past, I knew her story, I knew what had happened to her, and I didn't want to be one day just some story she told about a guy that she was with who did the same thing to her that the two others before did, So for me, it was I don't want to tell you that I'm sad, upset, mad with you, or I'm hurt by you, because I don't want to hurt you. But that is keeping her from healing. That's keeping her from growing into who she's supposed to be as my wife.
Yes.
For me, because we are one. It is not she is a woman and I am a man and we are together. Like, this is a oneness, because that's what the Lord called it in Genesis. Is together we make one person. And God is in the center of it all. So when I'm able to tell her, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is how whatever happened goes down in my head, like, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I heard you say, it gives us a second and a moment to be able to kind of dress the wound, so to speak, or address the wound.
And Wayne knows me too, that if he approaches me about something that's bothering him, I get angry. I don't get angry at him, but that's how he feels. And like I said, we're just going to be real and raw in this podcast. But like, I just told him this last night. When the enemy is attacking him, I get angry at the enemy. And then when I come to him, I don't talk to him with grace.
Softness. Yes, that's what I said
with
too.
With grace. I do not talk to him with grace, because at that point I don't feel like I'm talking to him anymore. I'm talking to the enemy that's attacking him. But what he hears me saying is, you need to get it together. You need to put your big boy pants on and get over it. But in reality, I'm going to war for him, but he just can't see it in the moment. So that's when the enemy allows it to take offense in his heart, instead of hearing my words in my heart. Instead of hearing my heart instead of my words.
Yes.
And sometimes my words don't come out the way I need them to, but he knows that I love him, and he knows that I don't play when it comes to him. I don't play about the enemy attacking my family. He knows that. And he knows that when the enemy starts, I'm gonna rise up and I'm gonna get angry. But it's not that I'm getting angry with him. I'm getting angry at the situation, or I'm getting angry with the enemy that's attacking him. And so the way I get that accomplished, the way that I rebuke the enemy off of his life, is not talking to him in grace. And I need to learn that. I need to know the balance. I need to learn how to talk to him with grace, but also talk to the enemy that's attacking his life. I told him last night I'm not a woman that's going to come to him and say, oh, the devil's messing with you. He should probably leave you alone. That's not me, and he knows that. And he knows that if I did come in there like that, he'd be like, yeah, that's not, yeah. But when the enemy's attacking him, I come in there with authority, and I'm like, Satan, I rebuke you. You will not have my husband. And that is the tone that I use, but it's the authoritativeness, I guess, in my voice. And then because the enemy's attacking him already so much, the enemy will use that instead of it allowing God to heal that. The enemy will use it to stir some more things up. But I think that we're getting at a place in our marriage where, like I said, we're learning each other, and he's starting to know my intentions, and he's starting to know that the level of love that I have for him is to take him to the throne room. Now, I will say that probably in our marriage, I was further along when he had known Jesus already before I met him. He strayed away, and then I was walking in the path of holiness, and then he came along and he started catching up. But I will say that I tend to be the one that when the enemy is attacking me, I don't know about y'all, but I'm just going to be real. I don't want to hear you say, well, we going to pray about it. I don't want to hear you say, well, let's talk to the Lord, because I want to sit in it. I want to be bitter. But the Lord's healed me from that also. But I will say that, like, when the enemy's attacking him, I'm the first one that's like, we going to war. And I don't care what he thinks about it or what he's going to say, because at the end of the day, I have just as much authority to rebuke Satan off of his life as he does for my life. Just because he is the leader of my home doesn't mean that he's always going to be able to give 100% to lead. That's when I have to fall into that, say he's got 50% to give, and I'm going to bring that 70 to the table, and we're going to figure it out.
Well, Kyle said something one time that was to the effect of when someone is rebuking what you've sat in, we as a person feel offended, or we get in our feelings about it because we've partnered with it for so long. You've partnered with depression. You've partnered with suicidal thoughts. You've partnered with oppression. You've partnered with identity crisis. You've partnered with it for so long that when someone comes against it, you feel attacked personally. And they're not coming against you, they're coming against that thing. But yes, because you are so attached to it, you can't tell where it ends and you begin. And that's why in some of those instances, I felt the way that I felt.
And sometimes you just have to remember that you're human, and we're not perfect, and we have a flesh. And sometimes that flesh takes over when our spirit man is weak.
Now, you said earlier, because you're the leader, I'm the leader of the home, that you have as much authority as I have to rebuke things off of each other's life. That kind of brings us to the next question that I think is important. And a lot of people get this word stuck in their throat: submission. The Bible says that wives are to submit to their husbands. That doesn't mean she's my slave. But
he's my slave.
Well,
just kidding.
But while it does say that wives are to be submissive to their husbands, it also gives you a mandate that not many of us follow, if we're being real and honest. I struggle to follow it with a good attitude. The Bible says that what husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church and give up their life for them. It's a sacrificial type of love. I am fine with the sacrifice. I'm good with it. I'm good cooking and cleaning and doing all the things and serving my family, because that is how I show my love. Like, I'm able to come home after a hard day at work and still stand at the stove for another hour and a half and cook a good meal. I love doing that. My problem is doing it with a good attitude, which, if we're being honest, I think is a lot of us. Even the submitting wives part, it probably, you do it, but you don't do it with the best attitude, or you drag your feet, whatever. I think that's the part that most married couples struggle with, is that we listen to the mandate. I'll submit. I ain't gotta like him though. I ain't gotta like what he say. I can question what he say, or I'll love my wife like Christ loved the church and lay down my life for her and give up myself for her, but I ain't got to do it with a good attitude. I ain't got to like it. But I feel like that's part of growing, is that eventually you do have a good attitude while you're doing it. Like this, and it's not something that I have to tell myself, like, okay, I need to cook supper. Good mood. You know what I mean? Like right now, that is what I have to do. When I get to this house at the end of a long day, I have to sit in the car for a second and just, and then I come in and I get the job done. I do what I'm supposed to do, what I'm called to do in this family. And I don't always want to do it. I mean, the Bible doesn't say love your wife like Christ loved the church and lay down your life for her and always want to do it. Like, I mean, even the Lord prayed, if this cup can pass from me, let it. Like, he didn't want to go to the cross. He didn't want to have to sacrifice himself for us. If there's another way, Lord, let it be. But the added part that not a lot of people want to listen to or hear, not my will, but yours be done. And his will is that I love my family and I love my wife like Christ loved the church, a sacrificial kind of love.
And I'll say that people don't like the word submission, and I'll be honest that it's more the women than it is men that doesn't like that word, because they feel like submission means he's going to tell me what to do and I have to do whatever he tells me to do. That is so far from the truth.
That's not submission.
When Wayne talks about submission in our marriage, and I'll tell you what it looks like for us, submitting to Wayne, I'm gonna be real. It's hard because I'm a woman. I am set in my ways.
Strong woman.
And
there's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm opinionated, but that doesn't mean that I undermine him. I will never, ever talk down to him. I will never degrade him. Submission for our marriage looks like, when I submit to Wayne, I'm allowed to see myself the way that he sees me, because when I submit to him, it allows him to look at me through the eyes of Jesus. Because that's what he's called to do. That goes back to the love your wife like Christ loved the church. He looks at me through the eyes of Jesus. And when I look at Wayne and when Wayne looks at me, I literally can feel the love of Jesus through him with the love for me. And it's a beautiful thing, because allowing him to love me in that manner has healed me. Submitting to Wayne has brought me joy. It has brought healing. It has brought forgiveness in my heart. It's done a lot of things. So when I say I submit to Wayne, I'm not submitting to Wayne for Wayne. I'm submitting to Wayne for myself. I'm submitting to Wayne so that Jesus can do what he needs to do in me and through me. And submitting to Wayne shows me how to love him and how to be the wife that God has called me to be. Because Wayne is everything that I've never had before. He loves me. He truly loves me. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he does not love me. And when he comes home and he cooks I'm trying hard not to cry right now, but when he does come home and he cooks a hard meal for me, and I see that he's had a hard day, a hard meal, I meant when he's had a hard day and he comes home and he cooks a meal for us, and I see it on him, that's when I'm allowed to say, and there are times when I see it stronger than other days, and that's when I get to say, and he hears the tone in my voice, and I'll kind of just say, hey, and he'll look at me and I'll say, you good? And he'll say yes or no, or he'll say, I'm just tired, and then I'll say, well, let's talk about it. And allowing him to talk about how his day went, I feel like men are different. Some men need to get in the shower as soon as they get home. Some men need to sit down when they get home. But I feel like that for Wayne, and what works in our marriage is when he comes home and he starts doing all the things, and I look at him and I say, hey, are you good? And he says yes or no, or I've just had a hard day, and when I respond with let's talk about it, that allows him to kind of shuck it off and get it out of his system
and process it.
Yes, and then we get to move forward with our night, and we enjoy each other's company and Rainey's company and all the things. But back to that submission thing, it's just, you have to know your spouse well enough to know if you can't submit to your husband, and if your wife cannot submit to you, they are not for you.
You're unequally yoked.
I have been in unequally yoked relationships before, and whenever I started this relationship with Wayne, I knew that it wasn't going to be like my past, but it was hard still because I had to learn him, and I had to heal from those places that were wounded, and I had to allow him to show me that, he's here to stay and he's not them. And it's just been rewarding, and by doing that, it's because I submitted to him. And it took me a long time to get to where I am today, but it's worth it. I don't have to sit here if he's out with a friend, or if he's out at men's meeting at church, or if he's at work and he's not at home on time. I'm not sitting on my couch texting him, where you at, what you doing, who you with. I don't ever question. Now, I may ask him, where you at? I'm worried, but it's because he's not home, and usually he is. But that's just me making sure that he's not in a wreck or anything, not because I don't trust him. We have an open password policy on our phones. He has every password to everything I have. I have the password to everything that he has, not because we have to go through each other's phone, but just because we trust each other. There is no secrets in a marriage. If you have secrets in a marriage, then you're not living the way that you should. I think that's all I have to say about that.
Well, the last thing,
like Forrest Gump just
that's all I have to say about that. The last thing that I will add is that, like you said, submission ain't for me. Mm-hmm. I don't get anything out of your submission.
Right.
That is what you were called to do. I get something out of loving you like Christ loved the church, because that is what I'm mandated to do. So the moral of the story then is, in the book of Hebrews, it says that it is appointed once for man to die, and then the judgment. And when that judgment comes, you are going to stand account for everything that you did on this earth. Whether you submitted to your husband, or whether you loved your wife like Christ loved the church, whether you provoked your children to anger. And there are things that I'm already dreading at the judgment that I did in years previous, that I am already like, oh Lord, gonna get me on that one. Like, we're not perfect. I don't want you to hear that we're perfect. Like, that's not what this is.
We're far from perfect.
Far from it. But I just want to let you know, like, That's what the Lord has created us to do as husbands, and that's what the Lord created you to do as wives. It's time that we did it. Just listened. We humbled ourselves. That's what we need to do. Humble ourselves. We probably got time for one more question. I don't like 100% know how long this is getting to be. Whatever it is, though, we're gonna rock with it. But a question that popped up in my head, and I don't know why, but we're gonna answer it anyways, is parents in a marriage. Like, what is our parents' role in our marriage? Do you want to answer that one first, or do you want me to start it?
I'll let you start.
So, short answer, there ain't one.
Right.
There is no role for your parents in your marriage. And if your parents is in your marriage, there needs to be a boundary line drawn quickly, expeditiously.
Yeah.
There needs to be a line drawn, and you have to set boundaries. There's an old saying that a daughter's your daughter for the rest of your life. A son's your son until he takes a wife.
That's not true.
And that is absolutely 100% not true. The Bible says that once a man and a woman are married and they are one, the man leaves his family and clings to his wife because they are one flesh. It don't say one flesh and a terrible mother-in-law. It don't say one flesh and an overbearing father-in-law. And that is something that in our marriage really isn't, it's not really like a huge issue. Now I will say that we go to our parents both for advice, both sets of our parents for advice. And we don't take what they say as rule of law.
Right.
I don't know how to say that.
They
we don't just listen to what they say and like, oh, that's it. That's what we need to do. If it doesn't work for us, then that's not what we're gonna do. My parents aren't all up in our marriage telling us how we should and shouldn't be and shouldn't do, and neither is her parents. We have not had the problem of overbearing parents. That hasn't been an issue. I love her mom to death, and her dad, and she loves my parents to death. She was a spiritual daughter of my mother when we met each other. Well, before, but that was how I met her, was because they went to lunch one day and came to the restaurant where I was working. So we have not had that issue, which is weird why it popped into my head, but I assume that somebody watching is going to have that problem maybe, and that's why the Lord wanted me to say something about it. I don't know.
I will say that I have experienced it in the past with overbearing in-laws. Like Wayne said, whenever you are married, you become one. You leave your mother and your father, and you become one flesh.
Cling to each other.
In my first marriage, that was not the case. And I don't mean to degrade him, but he just was not a man. We were super young. He still lived at home with his parents. When we got married, we moved in literally across the yard. And they were in our business. They wanted to know where we were going, when we were coming back, and we were grown and had jobs and a child, and they still wanted that control over him and over us. And I immediately rebelled against that, and because I did that, I think that's when everything kind of started to fall apart in that marriage. But my mom and dad don't be getting in my business like that.
And I'll say that my mom is like my number one fan, like the person who's always been there for me. We down like 4 flat tires, was at every show, performance, everything. That was my best friend growing up. But as soon as I got married, she knew, because she follows the Lord. She knew what her place was in my marriage, and there wasn't one for her. I love her to death, and like I said, we still seek advice from them, but there's not a place for parents in a marriage.
And when we seek advice from them, I will say that 9 times out of 10, I'm not calling my mama saying, "Oh, Wayne gets on my nerves. I'm so sick of him," and blah 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 blah. I don't do that. I don't. If I do that, I do it in front of him, so he's there for that.
Come get your son-in-law. You're getting on my nerves.
Yeah. But I'm not. I don't degrade him like that. I don't. Because I will tell you that once you start talking to your parents and you start talking down about your husband, your parents are 9 times out of 10 liable to take your side, and then they're going to start feeling a certain type of way towards them. And then once the argument's over and he's apologized and y'all are moving forward and y'all are in a good place, then that bitterness and that anger towards him is still going to exist in your parents, because you drug them into that situation, and it's not healthy, it's not holy. But my parents don't get in our business now. Like Wayne said, we do call and ask for advice. Like recently we were going through something with our oldest daughter, and we just needed prayer in that moment. And anytime that I'm having a spiritual battle, I'm gonna call my mama, and then I'm calling his mama. And so that's what we did. Well, actually we went to his mama's house that day, but I called my mama. And if you have parents that believe in the power of the Holy Ghost and with the evidence of speaking in tongues and the healing power of Jesus and all of that, then you have a good thing, and you need to put it to use. Because I called my mama and she began to pray in tongues, and I immediately felt that relief of what was stirring up inside of us in that moment. And then we got to his parents' house, and she done the same thing for us, but it was more of a physical and our parents, they support us. They are for us. I like to say that Wayne's mom, whenever, like he said, she was my spiritual mother. And when we first told her that we were going to get together, I don't know if Wayne remembers, but she told him and me both, if this doesn't work, I don't know what to tell y'all, because I'm not going to be mad at him, and I'm not going to be mad at her. I'm still going to love him because he's my son, and I'm still going to love you because you're my daughter. And she has stuck to her word with that. She does not take sides. If I talk to her about something, she encourages me. She tells me what Scripture says, what Jesus says, and who we are in Him. And
if I talk to her out the side of my mouth, I 9 times out of 10 get popped. I mean, it is what it is.
He don't ever talk to me out the side of his mouth.
Well, I do, but I just be
petty.
playing. I'm petty, and I be playing. Like, I be telling her, "Don't you talk to me like that, girl," or something like that. My mom be like,
"Shut up,
bro." And my mom would be like, "What did you just say to her?" You know, like, she don't play about her, and she don't play about me. You know.
No, but that's the beautiful thing, is that she corrects us when we're wrong, and we respect her authority. We respect her insight and her input. Now, that is not to say that every time that me and Wayne have an argue that we pick the phone up and we call our parents.
Right.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to go before the Lord about it. And then if something doesn't happen, after that is when we will seek wise counsel.
They're kind of
with our parents.
Not a last resort, but the Bible does say to seek wise counsel. So when we need it, we seek wise counsel.
And they've both been married for years.
Yeah.
So,
why not use that knowledge and experience? You know, they've 9 times out of 10 probably went through it too.
And I have seen other couples who have let their parents literally tear their relationship apart. I will say this, I feel like the Lord wants me to say it. If your relationship with your parents overrules your relationship with your spouse, you are out of order.
Yep.
You should never put your parents first in any aspect. It is your husband. It's God, your husband, your children, and then your family. Wayne is my first priority. I had my girls way before Wayne came along. And before Wayne came along, they were my first priority because they were all I had. And when he came along, I had to transition into that role. Matter of fact, when me and Wayne first started talking, Rainey was still sleeping in the bed with me. And we kind of had to tell her, like, you know, Way and Mama is fixing to get married, and you're going to have to start sleeping in your big girl bed. And you can't sleep in Mama's bed no more. And so, you know, that's teaching her, too, the importance of keeping your marriage holy and putting God first, and then your spouse, and then her. And so I will say that I've literally seen marriages fall apart because they've allowed their parents to tell them how to treat their marriage and in unholy ways. Like, it's a generational curse almost. Like, I've seen the bitterness from the grandma down to the great granddaughter, you know. And it's just, if you don't stop that generational curse with you, it's going to continue to overflow from generation to generation. And it's just important because, too, whenever you pull your parents into your marriage like that, it not only affects that, but there are times where it can degrade your spouse. And there's some men that allow their parents to do that as well. It's not just women.
Nope.
And I will say this, and maybe Wayne should say it, but I feel like I need to say it. But we are in a world where our men need to man up. We need a godly man in our lives. We need a man who we see that is seeking after God. We need a man who is not afraid to raise his hands and worship and believe that Jesus is who he is, and that he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and that he's coming back on the clouds. We need men to rise up. We need them to be the priest of our home.
That is our number one job as the high priest of our homes.
Yes.
To lead our families into worship, into the presence of God. And one of the things that, you know, I said in a speech that I had to give not long ago was, how can you lead your family somewhere that you're not willing to go yourself? You have to be willing to go there first. In all things, I mean, I feel like if you feel that you're being called to a fast, like, when's the last time you fasted by yourself, like, and sought the Lord's face? I can say that that's something that I struggle with, is fasting, and something that I didn't know a lot about, to be honest. Like, of course, you know, fasting is not eating. That's just, it is what it is. There is no other fast. Social media is not a fast. Fasting is not eating a meal, denying the flesh, and spending time with the Lord. And it's not something that I knew a lot about, and I had to kind of research it and seek his face on it and find out what he wanted from me and what he wanted me to do and how long and all the things. And I was only able to do that because I went there first. And one day, if I feel like the Lord is calling my family to a fast, I'll know more about it then, because I went there first. So you can't lead someone in a direction that you're not willing to go yourself. And you're right. You're absolutely 100% right. The time for wishy-washy, patty cake manhood is over. I mean, it's done. There's really no room for it anymore. Like, at this point in time, the way the world is, we need some strong men to stand up and take accountability for the way that their house is.
Yes.
You need to take accountability for the way your kids act, your wife acts. You need to take accountability for the way that you act. And if change needs to be made, it needs to be made. And I realize that in this particular episode, I feel like we've said a lot of things that may convict people, but I want to tell you that if you are that person that feels convicted, that it is not condemnation.
That's right.
Like there is no condemnation in
We're
this
not
podcast.
perfect.
We're not perfect, but I will tell you that the Lord uses conviction, not
Yes.
condemnation. He uses conviction
Yes.
to bring about change and to teach us. One of the things that I say to Rainey when she gets a spanking is that the Lord loves, so He corrects. Like that is how I know the Lord loves me, is because He corrects me. If I do something that I 100% know is wrong and I don't feel conviction, that's when I have something to worry about, because the Lord has let me go. If you do something that is 100% you know in your heart of hearts that it is wrong and you don't feel conviction, you better start praying, because it is what it is. The Lord corrects those that He loves. And if you feel conviction or correction from anything that we've said, know that it is the Lord calling you back to the secret place, back to the first love, which is Him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
Don't think so.
No? All right. Well, listen, we're going to get off of here and we're going to go to bed, because I've yawned about 17 times during this podcast. I tired.
That's one of those things I don't like.
I'm sorry, but I love you.
I love him.
And I love you guys. And we'll see you on the next episode of Anointed
Anointed
Love.
Love.